and reconvening in session, and we're going to come back to an item that we tabled earlier, which is under it's item number 7. Smithfield Town Council sitting as the Board of Licensed Commissioners. Listed as A, discussion by council to vote or other action on BV liquor license for Texas Roadhouse Holdings LLC, doing business as Texas Roadhouse. And we had an initial discussion to see if we could just have passage and maybe that time. There were a couple of questions that came up, so we decided to come back and deal with it now. So could you just state your names for the record and welcome?
Sure. Good evening, council members. My name is Nicholas Goodyear. I'm here on behalf of Boutique Development. In addition, we have a representative from Texas Roadhouse, Mr. John Prescott. Appreciate the opportunity to be heard tonight with respect to this application. As you may be aware, Boutique Development has been in negotiations with Texas Roadhouse for a couple of months regarding a lease of a pad site down in the village. In the future, we hope to have building constructed there and have welcome Texas Roadhouse into the neighborhood as another new business here. Part of that process includes obtaining some approvals from the municipality, in addition to that from state level too. In order for such a well-regarded new tenant to start, we want to let them hit the ground running, which is why we're here, before construction started on the building, to obtain a conditional liquor license. So when the building is constructed, there's no waiting period for advertising and getting before this council. We can submit the paperwork that's required, such as a certificate of occupancy, which would include a fire inspection and the approvals from the Board of Health, and just submit that through administration, pay the fee, get the liquor license, and they can be operating as quickly as possible once they get to that step. And I could elaborate if you have any direct questions. We've been working.
We did have some discussions earlier, so I will actually refer to Councilor Zielinski because he's written some out. And would you like to start off, Councilor?
Yeah, I would love to welcome you to town. I have some concerns though. We have 3 full liquor licenses remaining in the town. On your application, I didn't see it, but there's no mention of when ground will be broken completion. So in essence, my concern is I'm a little leery to grant it. I personally am 1/4 tonight. Issue a liquor license without a sunset clause attached to it, because we may have other businesses that wish to avail to that. So can you answer that question? Like, when are you going to break ground, at least the minimum?
I sure can, and thank you, Mr. Chairman and board members. We fully anticipate our current open date is scheduled for June 22nd. Now, that is as with all construction, there could be delays, but we're right now, just so you're aware, our partner for the store is actually already been hired and trained. So this isn't something we're going into half-heartedly. We have a fully executed lease there. We are, as I said, expected opening is June 22nd. The other members of the salary management team are in training.
Okay,
so
that was, you weren't here, but one of my concern was, we have an affidavit that's signed by, I guess, somebody in the general counsel saying they attest to personal knowledge of the personnel of the above named establishment and their training. It's a little hard to do with a national chain. But if you already have a manager that's training in another location, is tip certified and understands serve safe and everything else that goes along with it.
Not only that, I'm actually, my position is what's called a market partner. So I not only source real estate, but I support operations. We're really operators at heart. But support operations, we hire and train. I myself am serve safe and tip certified. The partner what we call a managing partner, who has actually a vested interest, he has an equity interest in the restaurant. He has done his training. He's actually right now kind of acting as a steward for us, and another one of our Texas Roadhouses, he's working right now on the seacoast in Newington, New Hampshire. But he is the partner for North Smithfield. And as I said, his training has been done, so it's in our interest that we get him there as quickly as possible. It's in my personal interest to get him there, so. And so all of our salaried people, as well as every hourly front of the house employee who will be handling alcohol, will be tip certified. All of our salaried members will be ServSafe certified to meet the requirement of the Board of Health.
Mr. Prescott, where did you come in from today? Where's home base?
I live in New Hampshire, but I happen, one of my restaurants is in Leominster, Massachusetts, so I just drove down 146. So now I was, I actually had the pleasure of living in Rhode Island for a while myself. When I graduated college, I lived in North Providence. I had trained when I joined Texas Roadhouse in 2012. I completed all my training in Warwick, which is right on the East Greenwich line. So. I had and to give you a little bit more of my background, professional background, I worked with Brinker International and on the border LLC, which we opened up our restaurant down in Warwick on Baltimore Road, Friday Route 2. So I have operated restaurants in Rhode Island before. Really, I'm especially excited about this North Smithfield restaurant because it will be, because I am a new market partner. It will be the first opening that I do for Texas Roadhouse. So that's a big deal for me. And so, we're not just, for me personally, it's the start of an aggressive growth plan. And I'm just happy that it's starting here with me. So.
We're happy to have you applying for North Smithfield. What's your alma mater? Has nothing to do with that.
University of New Hampshire.
Well, you say you went to school, and I'm saying it's hospitality, front of the house, back door. No.
Yeah, I have.
Yeah.
Oh, Madam Clerk, you said that we could hold, according to your research, we could hold a liquor license for the applicant up to next August for 1
State
year?
Liquor Control, and it's actually in the ad that we put in the paper, that the liquor license will be held for 1 year with the term ending August 2015.
So,
I think it's
you know what the time constraints are, but it's doable for, as far as you look.
I believe so.
And one of the questions, and I'm just assuming, but it says, does the applicant have a draft system? Is that a draft beer system?
It may be.
Yeah, and it was answered no, but I always thought, I frequented your restaurants in
Sure.
other locations, and one of the things I frequent is the beer draft system. So, that might just need to be amended or something. If that's what that question is asking, I'm not sure what that, I don't even know why we'd want to ask that question, but I guess we do.
We'll look at that. I see here in the application that it was answered, but it does, all of our Texas Roadhouses, we do have a draft system. Without getting into too much, we're very much a restaurant with bars, and I think that's important to know. Whenever we get to a small community, and because that's really Texas Roadhouse, you won't find us really in downtown Boston. We're not in the middle of Chicago. We're really take a lot of pride in being in suburban America because of the value that we offer, and so it's really important for me to often be able to tell you a little bit about us. And part of that is that we do take a lot of pride in being community-based and in integrating ourselves in the community. And part of that is the responsibility that goes with that. So we're responsible with our draft systems, and we take a lot of pride in being restaurants first, very much family-based restaurants. We have great bars in them, but it is not centric to what we do. In fact, we're very strict about our closing hours. We believe that part of being responsible is not staying open at 1 a.m. to 2 a.m. We are, you'll find many of our restaurants close at 9:30 or 10 o'clock at night, and we anticipate the same thing.
One other point of, you can have the building zoning official just edit or renew the application for certifications on compliance because of the date that was used, okay? Not November 9th, 2004. Whatever the day was, he did review it. 2014, excuse me. So I'm looking for a motion.
Yes, please.
Mr. Yazbek, can I make a motion with that, Lane Duff?
Make a motion to approve the application of Texas Roadhouse Holdings with the following contingencies, that obviously they get approval from the Board of Health. They need to get a certificate of occupancy. that the building inspector amend his date to November 2013. Any others?
Oh, no. To current, he's reflecting the future date of review, so just
To current date?
current date of review, yes.
And I don't know that there are any other, fire marshal, building inspector, all of those.
That's incorporated into the certificate of occupancy. And I
Right.
believe Mr. Benoit was referring back to the special permit approved. Bob Erickson might be able to help me, but I think that he's referring to the special permit approved in 2007 or 2008 for Fuji, because that is what accomplished that certificate of, zoning certificate.
So that just needs to be up.
Yeah, that date is wrong, I see it here. We can talk to Mr.
Yeah.
Benoit about that.
Everything goes back to that special permit that created the multi-use site. It was before I came here, but, I see it all the time.
The only thing, Mr. Yes, I think he's telling the motion that
I am.
is even though the state covers it until August, you just want to be mentioned in the non-motion as well, August 2015.
So a motion's been made by Mr. Yazbek.
Councilman, do you want to add payment of all fees that are due?
Well, knowing how diligent our town clerk is, she's not,
The best time, I'm sorry.
she is the best town clerk, but she's gonna make sure we get our money. But we'll add all town fees, payment of all town fees.
Motion by Council Yazbek, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilor Zawinski. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, a roll call vote, please.
Ms. Alves? Yes. Mr. Yazbek?
Yes.
Mr. Zelinski?
Yes.
Mr. Flaherty?
Yes. Mr. Prescott, we look forward to seeing you back.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We're excited. I can't tell you how much so. We did some work recently at I'm not sure if you're familiar, in Burrville, there was a soldier who lost both his legs in Afghanistan.
Yes.
We were very pleased and fortunate to be a big part of that home that was built for him. And so, yeah, and so anyway, that's just another example of how we really enjoy the communities that we get into. So I'm sure we'll see you again, and maybe to test out the draft system. Nothing else. So, but thank you again.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And we're going to return to item number 6, discussion by council vote or other action on review and approval of Canal Department of Transportation proposed ADA ramp through Carroll Park and Memorial Park, which is at 5 Main Street. Just a quick intro to this. This is an extension. This work that will be taking place is an extension of the Stone Arch Bridge work planned by DOT. Probably could have had immediately follow our last DOT workshop. We could have had Mr. Smith's input. But due in large part to the town planner's insight into alternate bridge design, he proposed a system that was going to save significant dollars on that bridge rehabilitation, and we were able to convince DOT to put additional dollars into improving the pedestrian infrastructure throughout Slatersville. And there's, so it's been going through sets of meetings to get everything completely fine-tuned, and Mr. Erickson has been shepherding that. He has some requests so that he can complete his work with DOT. So I'll turn to Mr. Erickson.
Okay, the issue at hand is the handicap access ramp, the ADA compliant ramp, that brings people from the sidewalk by the bridge up to Main Street. And the first one that we have a very nice rendering of was a W zigzag right at the corner of Carroll Park. Carroll Park, where the arrow is actually, that's where it begins or ends. Carroll Park and Memorial Park are separate issues, and I had to clarify that for the state, even though the town owns land on both sites. There's no demarcation line there. But that was version 1A. The Historic Preservation Commission said absolutely no way that's going to happen because it's totally inconsistent visually with everything else that was going on. And they proposed that the engineer attempted a curvilinear approach. That would take you through the garden and up to the location. That would also have the advantage of allowing ordinary pedestrians to use the same path to be part of the garden as they were proceeding up. So it would be a path that would give additional vistas to the park visitors and provide all the ADA compliance. Now, the first one that they did, 2A, which this one is, followed up around, you probably are familiar with the brick patio kind of structure at an angle on the hill, looped around that and then came back. And at the end, where it's in the Carroll Park area, those retaining walls will be up to 6 feet high. And they will be constructed of wet masonry, which basically has internal cement and concrete, but externally you can't see it. So it will look very similar to the other retaining walls in the area, including the ones across the street. That raised a problem for me, because you may know that there's a lectern in that brick memorial patio that has the descriptions of all the plantings and the people for whom they are memorials. And so I wrote a very critical email to the project manager and said every one of those has to be absolutely preserved. You have to limit the construction boundaries, and I can't justify this any other way. Well, they came back with essentially this plan, which, you don't have the color version, but it shows the all these boxes show what was actually planted there, and that they can do that with the exception of the copper witch hazel, which is I did an arrow to the box or a line to the box, and that will have to be moved at least slightly to avoid having to put it into a well where the gradient is fairly steep, and a well is not conducive to good plant growth, but they can move it to an area where it can thrive. They also noted that there are 3 plantings from 1995 that are currently missing. One shown only by a stump, and that the write-up committed to replacing those based on the evidence of what is on that lectern, that granite lectern. So they have taken a very thorough approach to this, and they will add additional landscaping, for example, boxwoods along the front of the retaining walls with stelladoros intermixed. Stelladoros are not part of the park now. But basically, we can go to the garden club and have them suggest whatever they want to. And I've talked to Joanne McGee, who's the incoming
President. New president.
Yeah, she's the president-elect. And she understood the issues, she was supportive of it, and I think it's the best possible alternative that we faced. I know Ruth doesn't like it. It does change the interaction between the public and the park, but I think in general it will be for the better, particularly when we have a higher number of people in the national park. That's basically it. They did do a third alternative because in any federal highway design, any funded design, you have to do something in 3s and compare them. And the third one was so bad I don't even want to talk about it. But anyway, this is what's before us. They are looking for a record of support from the town council so that they can proceed with this. I can tell you that this is a timeline issue right now. They are hoping to go out to bid on this in January of 2015. That is pretty tight for April construction. And the idea is that this could be finished in one construction season.
And my understanding is that the ADA ramp is a requirement
Yes.
of doing this project. I don't know if you wanted to take a moment to, while this is impressive here. The extent of the work that's going to be done by DOT goes far beyond this. I don't know if you wanted to, I mean, it really is going to make a significant difference in improving pedestrian infrastructure, which will hopefully bring more people to this park to appreciate the park.
Thank you.
As you know, the bridge is going to have pedestrian access on both sides to prevent what we call the Peachy Gorge effect. It's a beautiful place in Vermont where the scenery is beautiful on either side, and people start running back and forth across the street. This is a highway with higher density traffic than Route 5, and as a result, you get rear-ending of the first person stops quickly to avoid hitting a pedestrian. The second driver runs into them, and they have hundreds of these. So we wanted to avoid the Peachy Gorge effect and allow people to go on either side independently. And they're not going to be able to jump across because the stone walls are going to remain there. And then outside those, there will be walkways and then the steel railings, black railings. So, and then on the library side, that sidewalk will go up all the way to the library. And then on the other side, we will have from the granite buildings all the way up to Green Street, we'll have sidewalks. And I'm impressed that LIDOT, thanks to you, was so gracious in adding all those pedestrian amenities, considering the fact that we're slated to become a national park.
I don't think they would have done it but for the cost savings of the bridge.
Well, that'd be nice. I could go to sleep thinking that. Yeah, it did save them a lot of money and a lot of time and construction.
Could I ask folks who have a much better understanding of the park and its and all that goes into maintaining it to offer some input? Preferably from the lectern so that we can have it for the record.
Where do you want us to start? Go. Where are they going to go? Watch for the first accident. No, she can handle it.
Ruth Pacheco, 836 Old Smithfield Road. I was the president when this was built, when the ladies of the garden club took this on and with a lot of help. And everybody knows what it looks like. And I'm looking at this pathway. People are going to be a mountain goat walking along the hill. It's just not conducive to what they want to do. And every one of these, at the lectern, as Bob said, every tree and bush is marked with a number. And each number on that represents what a person has donated. So I don't know where the missing ones are from 1990. Well, I know the tree at the end where the corner is. That wasn't inclusive in that.
Okay, well, they looked at the lectern.
I didn't think that was mentioned in the minute. But there might have been one on the top that was. We took a lot of time to do this. And I just feel as though they're going to come in and there just won't be a park that we created. And all of these paths that they've got, it's just not going to do it. I mean, it isn't that big.
No,
And when they get done building all these paths, there won't be anything left.
no. Pull it
That's
up.
my story.
Excuse me, Ms. Pacheco,
Yes.
did you have any input on this at all? Did you guys?
Oh,
I had no
my
idea.
mouth was going with Bob, yes, you have to believe it. I mean, I heard it from Jeff, and I immediately spoke to Bob, and Louise and I made our just taste.
Yeah, I had no problem with the W zigzag when Rhode Island Historic Preservation turned it down. I said, oh no, this is going to be a pain. But I do want to make it clear that this is an ADA ramp. And this is all 1 inch for every 12 inches, and then every 30 feet, you have to have a flat spot. So this is not going to be a mountain goat issue. This is going to be a very smooth path up the hill. And that's the whole idea of ADA. So they're using retaining walls so that that grade can be completely manageable by a wheelchair. It's really pretty impressive. I wish they had done the rendering of this rather than the zigzag, the W zigzag. I think it'd be much easier to understand what is happening here. But it does have the ability to look something like an Olmsted Park, very much naturalized in the way that we remember the mill created the retaining walls. But by no means will it be a mountain goat issue. It will just be a very flat drag.
Well, how does it make that flat? Do they raise it up?
Yes.
But it's a mountain goat issue now, and it's,
So it's going to change
They're
the
going to
whole.
use retaining walls,
Yeah,
yeah.
it's going to change the whole.
in its current condition, there's a 20-foot elevation right now. And if you're walking up the side of the street, you have to walk up the side of the street. So I've walked up many times. So I can't see where as I understand what Mrs. Chico is saying, you'd rather not have this thing going through, but if they're not going to replace the bridge, which is now down to 1 lane and 6 lights, don't ask me why they added another 7 lights. It doesn't really work all that well lately. And we got to get that bridge done. And unfortunately, if this is the price to pay to get that bridge done, you know, I'd like to see them just get it done and put the garden back the way they found it, move whatever couple of trees they have to move, and let's go on with it, because there's no way that anybody can navigate in a wheelchair that street right now.
Right.
So, and it's not Providence Pike there, you may want to tell Carol Fallow, it's Railroad Street.
I mean, I guess my question is there really, I mean, I know that DOT looked at a number of alternatives, but is there really any alternative to, I mean, it's either, you know, ADA or it's not. And it seems like not being ADA is not an option. So this is the best option of all the ADA options.
How about the walk that goes up the other way towards Slate's Church? Is that gonna stay in existence?
Don't even mention it, because that's,
No.
it doesn't exist, don't mention it.
No,
No, because they'll
It'll
start
be a
playing
great
around with
place
that.
for the skateboarders.
well, yeah, that's but you're gonna do that
It
anyway.
won't be a handicap, the skateboarders will take over.
No, the other walkway is not going to be changed.
Because this is gonna cover your ADA requirements.
That's too steep.
So you're looking for
Yeah, so the motion would be to
affirmation vote.
approve the concept with the condition that the existing memorial plantings be preserved and relocated only when necessary.
With the input of the garden club?
Yes. And
Bob,
that the additional landscaping shall have input from the garden club.
And also, Bob, the 2 benches that are there,
Yes.
you have 2 benches that are there. I'm sure they're right in the back.
The granite benches have settled differentially.
and they would put their website.
Basically, they look tipped over. I'm reluctant to sit on them, but they would change the location to make them more accessible and put them upright, put them in a foundation, or not a foundation, but a base that wouldn't differentiate so. So we could add preservation of the plantings and benches.
I will make a motion to send a communication to approve the proposal as presented, with the understanding that the plantings in Carroll Park will be preserved and/or relocated only as necessary, and that the benches also be relocated and stabilized. Is there a second?
Before you finish?
Yes.
Also the involvement of the garden club with the relocation of the
in consultation with the North Smithfield Garden Club on the part about the relocation of the plantings and benches. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Councilor Gasback. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, roll call vote, please.
Ms. Alves? Yes. Mr. McGee?
Yes.
Mr. Yazbek?
Yes.
Mr. Zelinski?
Yes.
Mr. Farrell?
Yes. Carries. Thank you, ladies, for your input. Perfect. I know not what you wanted, but hopefully a better alternative than the ones that were presented previously.
Could I just say that the reason it's Carroll Park and Memorial Park is that we're not sure if there was an ordinance when they named it Carroll Park, when Betty Cesario was on the council. And that Carroll Park only goes to the first stone that the garden club put in. When we took on the rest of it, we named it the Memorial Park.
Okay.
And that's why there's